Video number 2 on guardians, okay? The most complex part, the hardest part to learn, the thing that you need the most practice with is going to be recognizing when guardians show up. Don't be intimidated by it. It's very simple. The process is simple. The hardest part is recognizing them. But as soon as you get good at recognizing them, then the process is very simple, resolving them. It really is not complex. And it's following the same principles of divide and conquer, building emotion. We're doing both of those things in this process. So let's just walk you through it here. I do want to remind you, in case you haven't watched the previous video, guardians are guardians are guardians are guardians. Whether they're believing the truth or believing lies, guardians are always protecting you. That is so important for you to understand. Your logic protects you from day to day as you believe truth. Now, if you're believing lies, then that's not protecting you, but it's trying to. Your logic is always trying to protect you. Fleeing from sin protects you. Getting your rest protects you, right? So all these guardians, if they're believing truth, they serve holy purposes. If they're believing lies, then they're deceived and they need the help of Jesus. But they're not evil. The guardians themselves are not evil. They are part of your God-given personality. So feel free to go back and watch the previous video on guardians if you haven't seen that. But this one, I was just talking about, that previous video was talking about all the principles of guardians. This one, we're going to walk through the process of handling a guardian. Let's say you've got an individual and you've asked them how and why, and you've found a memory where they felt they've got to stupid. Okay, I felt stupid. Well, why did you feel stupid? Because I knew better. Okay, well, if you knew better, how does that make you feel? Well, it just makes me feel like I'm evil. Whew. Now we're getting down there somewhere, you know. This is getting real. I feel evil. I feel dirty. Okay, well, if you feel evil, if you are evil, how does that make you feel? Say, I hate myself. Okay, now, this is a guardian. Believe it or not, I hate myself is a guardian. This is shame, is what this is. It's not easy to recognize, but the better you get at it, the quicker you are at recognizing guardians, like I said, you are going to shave an hour off of your ministry sessions because that's where you spend most of the time. Most of your time gets spent dealing with guardians. If you don't have any guardians, the process you just plow right on through. You fly through it. Only takes 15 minutes if you don't have any guardians. But if you got a lot of guardians and God lies, it's usually guardians that take the most time. If you got a lot of guardians, you can go 3-4 hours. I mean, it can be a battle. But if you're really good at recognizing them and really good at dealing with them efficiently, you can take a 3-hour session down to an hour. You know, it's possible. So anyway, we recognize, ooh, there it is. I hate myself. That's a guardian under the umbrella of anger. Okay. Shame is such a powerful motive for people. And in sessions, shame pops up a lot. So they say, I hate myself. You just got to know right away. That's shame. What shame does is it says, if I just make myself feel bad enough about this, if I just hate myself enough about this, then I won't do that behavior anymore. I'll stop doing that if I just feel bad enough about it. So it's trying to protect you. This anger is trying to guard you from pain. It's what it's trying to do. But it's believing a lie. It's believing that self-hate is the solution. It's not. It's not. Jesus is the only solution. His grace is going to be the solution, not your shame. So once you recognize, okay, we've got a guardian here, first thing you do before you go through the guardian process, first thing you do is just ask why. I always just ask why. Anytime a guardian pops up, I ask why. So I say, I hate myself. Why do you hate yourself? Well, I hate myself because I hurt my mother like that. I can't believe I hurt my mom like that, okay? Well, since you hurt your mom like that, how does that make you feel? It makes me feel worthless, okay? So we got through the lie, or through the guardian, past it just by asking the question, why? Now, if you ask why, you say, why do you hate yourself? And it's just, I just can't believe I did that. And the emotion gets bigger. Now we're dealing with something bigger and it's not going away. We're just going to sit here stuck on shame. We need to deal with it. So then what you do, the process is simple. You say, okay, let's take this part of you that hates yourself, and let's just recognize that this part of you is trying to protect you from pain. It's so important. You say this every time with every guardian. Otherwise, they get defensive. The guardians get defensive. So you say, let's take this part of you that hates yourself, and let's just recognize it's trying to protect you from feeling pain, but it's deceived. And it's keeping Jesus from being able to heal the pain. So let's take that part of you and isolate that part of you. If we could bring Jesus, okay, so isolate that part of you that hates yourself. And if we could get Jesus and bring him back to see this part of you that's trying to protect you, how does Jesus feel towards that part of you? Okay? So what they ought to then say, because we've talked about how this is protecting you, it's just believing a lie. It's just deceived. Then we're encouraging Jesus to be compassionate towards this part of you. As I mentioned in the previous video, if Jesus is not compassionate towards our guardians, then these guardians are just going to get all the more defensive, and more guardians are going to start popping up if Jesus isn't compassionate. If Jesus is angry at that self-hate, then, and other guardians might pop up of, well, I just feel like shutting down, or I just need to flee, or I just stop feeling anything, okay? Other guardians will pop up. But if Jesus is compassionate, as I mentioned, it is God's kindness, his goodness that leads us to repentance. If his compassion will dismantle the walls around this guardian. So how does Jesus feel towards this part of you that's trying to protect you? He feels compassionate. Okay, then you let Jesus interact. If Jesus could interact with that part of you, what do you think would happen? And then Jesus comes in and just goes, hey, I understand that you feel really guilty for your sin. I understand that. And I gave you a God-given conscience to know the difference between right and wrong. But hating yourself is different than guilt. Hating yourself is really believing that you are something that you're not. You are not the mistake that you made. My grace is sufficient for you, and then that should resolve the guardian. So as they express how the interaction takes place, then you ask, okay, and how does that make that part of you feel? And they ought to say, it feels better. So then you ask the question, okay, is that part of you willing to yield control to Jesus? They ought to say yes, and then you can go back to where the guardian popped up. And it showed up after the statement of, I feel evil. If you're evil, how does that make you feel? Well, now this guardian is gone, so it should produce a different answer. If you're evil, how does that make you feel? And then they may produce something. They may say, I see myself with this as this black image just covered in tar. Or they might say, I just believe I'm a piece of garbage. I'm worthless, okay? Then you're at the bottom. I am worthless. I am a piece of garbage, okay? Or that image that may pop up, and you can deal with that. But you get through it. You get past the guardian. The guardian's gone, and you find out what's underneath feeling evil. It's not self-hate. It's, I'm worthless, okay? Let's do it a little more complex, okay? And just walk through a little bit of what if there's more than one guardian? And this is very similar to the God lie process, but what if there's more than one guardian, okay? So, this is terrible brain. Okay, so you've got this part of you that hates yourself. And you've gone to get Jesus, and you brought Jesus back here. How does he feel towards you? And then all of a sudden, the person says, I'm not feeling anymore. Well, now you've got another guardian. So let's take that part of you that doesn't want to feel anymore. And let's isolate that part of you. Let's recognize that this part of you is just trying to protect you. But it's deceived, and it's keeping Jesus from being able to heal the hurt. So if we could bring Jesus to this part of you that just doesn't want to feel, how does he feel towards that part of you? He has compassion. Okay, if he could interact with that part of you that doesn't want to feel anymore, how did he interact? He understands. He completely understands that the prospect of feeling this pain is tough. He knows that it's going to be painful for me, but he also communicates to me that he's going to be with me, and I can experience this pain with his strength. Okay? How does that feel? Feels better. Is Jesus, or is that part of you willing to yield control to Jesus now? Yes. Okay. Now let's bring Jesus back to this part here that was experiencing that shame. If we recognize that's just trying to protect you, but it's deceived and it's keeping Jesus from healing the hurt there, as he sees that part of you that hates yourself, how does he feel towards that part? He has compassion. He understands. Okay? If he could interact with that part of you, what would happen? And then Jesus resolves that pain as well of, expressing his grace, his forgiveness. You are not your sin. I am the answer to that. How does that part feel now? Better. Is that part willing to yield control? Yes. Okay. Then you take the Jesus back to, then you say, okay, let's go back to this spot where you felt evil. Because you hadn't brought Jesus to the bottom line yet. We haven't even gotten there yet. So we leave this here and we go back to evil. If you're evil, how does that make you feel? It makes me feel worthless. Okay. Then you can bring Jesus to that part of you. So that's an example of if a second guardian pops up. Sometimes a third guardian can pop up and then you do the same thing. Or sometimes there's a fourth guardian that pops up and you do the same thing. Or sometimes, turns out Jesus is the false Jesus. When he goes to deal with one of these guardians, then Jesus is mad at it, or Jesus isn't compassionate, or Jesus doesn't care. Then you got to isolate that Jesus. But just keep in mind, just continue to divide and conquer. Just keep doing it. Do not be intimidated if you got a guardian on top of a guardian, on top of a God lie, on top of a guardian. It's okay. Just keep dividing and conquering. Trust the process. You'll get through it. Okay?